the owners of the Dallas Mavericks need to sign off on this. How do they allow this to happen, Sean?
Yeah, it seems like it happened super quick. And to your point here, like I'm not diminishing what the outlook for the Lakers is for this
No.
season, but this is absolutely the mindset of we've got the next generation of a Lakers superstar. This is the next face of the franchise, and he's every bit of that talent. But from a Mavericks perspective here, my brain certainly went when this first came out to Luka Dončić must have requested a trade. What I think is probably the reality, and it's been quite reported, Mark Stein was the first to say that he did not request a trade. He's as surprised about this as anyone. I think there had to be some probably, he's eligible for a supermax this summer, whether it was the organization being shy about giving that to him, whether it was some hesitancy on Luka's part to accept that. I feel like there had to be some difficult conversations there, but it does seem like most of the reports are indicating that that was heading in the right direction, that they were heading down that path there. So I truly can't really grasp why that would be the case. And to your point, I do think in general, it's easier when you're making this caliber of move for it to be a quick and seamless process, that it's not drawn out. We're not having the Jimmy Butler conversations or guys like that it lingers on forever. But Luka Dončić is not Jimmy Butler, man. Like, this is a completely different caliber of talent when having this. So I think they went with the get this done seamlessly, kind of save ourselves PR wise, that this doesn't drag out and kind of seep into the organization. But you're absolutely right that if you had opened this up to a bidding war, I have no clue how high the target could be made, like how high that price point could reach. Like, for example, here, Bill Simmons did his trade value rankings as far as he goes down the league, takes into account the contract, their age, all those type of things. Luka Dončić finished 4th on his list in the completely untouchable category. Obviously not the case because he's now moving, but I do think that goes to show as far as what the perception of Luka is and what the reality is for what he is as a player. So it makes zero sense to me from the Mavericks perspective. I saw the quote from Nico Harrison, their GM, about how defense wins championships, and that's the way that they want to play. They're buying into that. I think that's a very unnecessary shot and really just a bad look all around, to be perfectly honest. So if you're a Mavericks fan waking up today, I have no clue how you can even really continue on with rooting with this team.
SGA, Wemby, and who's the third?
For
Untouchable.
I forget, actually. That's a good question. I forget off the top of my head. I'll pull that up.
All right. Yeah. Who am I missing? It's, look, we're all focused on this. It's obviously not, I don't know, man. Luka got moved, so maybe you got to remove him from that list. I just, we're going to hear until we get exactly from the word of mouth of Luka what is going on, what was happening behind the scenes. And I know he's been injured. He had a little bit of a calf, a little bit of a back issue, if I'm not mistaken. He was reportedly to return yesterday. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Maybe this was happening in the last 72 plus hours. Again, there's no way this would have been taken any more than that because it would have seeped out. And
Jokic was the third one.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense. All I know is that what's being put out there now, again, it's from the 76ers perspective in me, but let's just take it a step further from the standpoint of around the league and franchises that have never had a player of Luka's caliber in their existence. And he's 25 years old, Sean. And you would have him. I don't care if he rolls in and Luka is weighing 300 pounds. I don't care if he comes to the training facility with the 12-pack of Peroni. I don't care. And I mean this. We're all friends here. He could have got a sex change. I don't care. You don't. Again, from the 76ers perspective, we have dealt with so much with Joel Embiid and you hang on to these guys. You do everything you possibly can to build around these guys. You can't allow these generational players to leave. And then to get what you got back, for crying out loud, the Lakers had 2 first-round picks. They didn't even get both of them. Yeah. How do you not even get both of those first picks? I just am losing my mind from the Mavericks standpoint. And then to trade him to the Lakers, of all places, dude, what are we doing here? That's what I'm saying. Am I wrong to think a commissioner? I never thought a commissioner should get involved like that, but they do, and they did with Chris Paul. So how do you not get involved with this deal?
Yeah, I mean, Brace, if this had happened in one of our fantasy leagues, I think it gets vetoed straight up. And this is the real NBA that we're talking about right here. So I can't believe that it is the case. And I'm seeing a couple of the comments. Shout out to Jay talking about comparing it to Embiid. I don't think it's the same thing because while Luka absolutely has his bumps and bruises, the dude has been available. Like looking at the games played, he goes 72 games,
Mhm.
61, 66, 65, 66,
Saw that
70.
this morning.
Yeah, like it's not like, and I get he's only played 22 this year. It does sound like he's ramping up and going to be back in like the short term. He's dealt with that calf issue. He did that on Christmas, obviously, and that's been something that he battled for the large part of the season. So he's not a model of availability, but it's not like this is a guy who isn't around. The fewest amount of games he played in his career is 61 in a season, which is perfectly acceptable for a superstar, to be honest. And like he led the league in scoring last year, 33.9 points per game. He took this team to the NBA Finals. He's led the league in scoring in the playoffs in 2 separate seasons already, in 2020-21 with 35.7 points per game, and then 21-22 with 31.7 points per game. He truly is one of the greatest offensive talents in the sport. I understand that he leaves some to be desired on the defensive end, but that's the sacrifice you make for a star, that like you can find guys to fit around it. And Dallas has, like, let's not act like he's been impossible to play with. They have had guys that have fit perfectly with Luka. Dorian Finney-Smith may be like the biggest winner of all this on the Lakers now because he's purely like a corner 3 catch and shoot guy, and he's not going to play next to the 2 greatest like corner 3 creators. I guess James Harden in the same category, but with LeBron and Luka there, like Dorian Finney-Smith is absolutely going to be eating in this offense here. So I do think there's more movement coming because both these rosters look a little incomplete based on how significant the shakeup is. A ton of front court talent down in Dallas with the Daniel Gaffords, the Derek Lively's, guys like that. And when you look at the Lakers, leave a lot to be desired. The front court spot now with no Anthony Davis. Rui Hachimura is likely going to, I guess, be their short-term starting center. They might even go with Jackson Hayes in that spot. The point being here that I think this is the start for both teams, that you got to do some pretty rapid roster construction. There's a lot that still has to go down, but I really can't believe that this happened. This is, I would say, by far the largest midseason acquisition ever in NBA history. I even might go as far as saying the largest overall acquisition. It's certainly the most shocking, in my opinion.
It's the craziest trade I've ever seen. Again,
Yeah.
it's absurd, and it's so fascinating on so many levels. It's shocking, and from the standpoint, like from 270, which is the Mavericks fat shaming Luka, trying to make defense wins championships, whatever they want to say. Like this is just absurd on so many levels. He's 6'7", Sean. He's a big dude, right?
He might even be bigger than that.
Yeah. So I just think, okay, to Mark Henry Jr.'s point on our Gambler chat, he said there's something else that has to be happening. And that's what I was saying last night. I was scrolling one eye open at 1:00 in the morning. Something else had to happen. And it doesn't do us any, or we shouldn't sit here and guess at what that possibly could be. But, again, like I just look at from a a general manager's perspective, an ownership group, a coach's perspective, Kyrie Irving's perspective. Like, dude, you can't move this guy. That's how crazy of a talent he is. And if he's 270 and say he's got a drinking problem because, the general manager went over there and took the beer out of his hand, whatever. And there's the picture of him on an off day. It's like, whatever, dude. Like you got to hang with this guy and work with him and give him that max deal and do not allow him to leave. And again, I don't want to be throwing things out there. I was just, having some fun with that. But regardless, unless somebody kidnaps somebody's family, I just don't see from the Mavericks perspective this being the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think like he's the caliber of talent that you put up with basically whatever baggage is there. And as far as what has become public, it doesn't seem like any sort of baggage that I feel is legitimate. Like, sure that he's been banged up a little bit. Sure, there are some conditioning issues. Like you look at him, he's pretty night and day different from a body perspective from when he first came into the NBA. But who isn't from when they were, 19 years old to 25? That things change with that. I don't know. The other point that I would kind of bring up in this, and like, if you're a Mavericks fan right now and you're kind of selling yourself on like this is our win now, go in move, I don't see any like debate in which moving on from Luka Dončić helps that. Like, yes, Anthony Davis is good. Yes, he provides another element, but you're talking about giving up a guy that at worst is one of the top 6 talents in basketball. So it does feel like there has to be more to the story than this, but you can only go off what has been told publicly. And it seems like Luka is pretty much at the top of the list for being stunned about this. So I cannot believe this happened. He really is like one of those guys that I pictured playing in Dallas for the entirety of his career. I'll never forget, like, obviously there was the Dirk Nowitzki era in Dallas who was there for the entirety. And then there was that 1 year of overlap in which they played together. And I remember when Luka, the first time I watched Luka like get cooking, my brain was just like, wow, the Mavericks got another one. Like, this is their Dirk Nowitzki of this era. He's going to be there forever. And obviously that's not going to be the case. So I'm pretty stunned all around, still feeling that as my immediate reaction.